Alright. Hello everybody. My name is Maudlin Longjohn and I'm going to be making my first official video. This project is called Stories Mama Told Me and it is sponsored by a wonderful organization called Vinspired. They provided the funds to get the equipment I need to make really good videos. Basically, I'm going to be making some short videos, bedtime story videos for children. So you go on my YouTube channel, you watch it, and you leave your comments about how to improve and what you learned basically. And what makes this project different is that we read stories from different parts of the world. We don't just read stories from England or stories from America. We read stories from different countries of the world. Okay, that's why I bought this amazing book. I hope you can see the title. It's called Stories from Around the World, Osborne. It contains stories from different countries in the world. And so today, being the first video, I'm going to be reading a story from a different country. Okay? I hope you enjoy it. What story are we going to read? I think I'm going to be reading a story from Morocco. And Morocco, that's a country. Yes. Page 72. There is 72. Yes, I think I got it. Good. Right. So, I hope you can see this. Today's story is called Clever Aisha, a story from Morocco. Clever Aisha. I hope you enjoyed the story. Hassan was a coppersmith who lived in the old city of Marrakesh. He was delighted when his wife gave birth to a girl. They called her Aisha. But Hassan's wife was very ill, and after a few weeks, she died. She died. Heartbroken, Hassan didn't know what to do. He went to work in the morning, leaving Aisha alone in her cradle. That's a picture of Aisha in her cradle, all by herself because dad's gone to work and mom is dead. When he came back in the evening, the baby was still asleep in her cradle, but she had been washed and fed and was happy. Hassan was delighted. This happened again the next day and the one after that, but Hassan saw nobody. That's creepy. Okay. After a while, he began to realize that the jinns, which were kind invisible spirits, were looking after his daughter for him. Wow. Aisha grew up into a very pretty girl. The jinns taught her all kinds of things and she became wise and clever. One evening, when Aisha was 17, Hassan came home looking very miserable. "What's the matter, Papa?" Aisha asked. "The Sultan has decided to see how clever his people are," replied Hassan, holding his head in his hands. "He's asking everyone in turn a question. If they can't answer it correctly, by the next day, he has their heads chopped off. If they give the right answer, he gives them a bag of gold." Okay, I'd love that. Today, he asked me, "What does the water wheel say as it turns?" "I can't think of an answer." "Oh, Papa, that's easy," laughed Aisha. "Now listen carefully and do exactly as I tell you." She taught Hassan a rhyme and made him say it over and over again so he wouldn't forget it. When Hassan went to see the Sultan the next morning, he pretended to listen to the water wheel for a while and then he said, "I was a queen's, I was a tree, the Sultan was hot, he cut me down." The Sultan was very surprised that Hassan somehow knew that. Many years ago, when the Sultan was working in his garden, he had hit his head on a queen's tree. He had been so angry with the tree, that he had cut it down and had the wood made into the water wheel. The Sultan was mean and didn't want to give Hassan a bag of gold for getting the answer right, so he asked him another riddle. Again, Hassan went home to Aisha in despair. "What shall I do?" he cried. "The Sultan says that I must go to the palace tomorrow, riding and walking, laughing and crying, all at the same time. Do you think that's possible?" Okay, let's see what happens. "How can I possibly do that?" Aisha laughed. "That's easy, Papa," she told him what to do. The next morning, Hassan rode to the palace on a very small donkey. It was so small that Hassan's feet were on the ground, so he was riding and walking. He knew he looked very funny, so he laughed. Aisha had given him a peeled onion, which he held to his eyes, that made his eyes stream with tears. Okay, so you can see the picture. Let me come closer. That is Hassan on his small donkey, and that's the onion in his hand. See, the onion is making his eyes water, and he's riding, and he's walking, and he's laughing, and he's crying. Okay? So, he was laughing and crying at the same time. When Hassan reached the palace, he looked so funny that all the courtiers laughed. The Sultan wasn't pleased, but he had to laugh too. Hassan, you've proved that you're clever. You've earned your bag of gold. Hassan got off the donkey and bowed very low. Sire, I am an honest man, and I must confess that my daughter Aisha told me the answers. The Sultan frowned for a moment, then he ordered, your daughter should be given the bag of gold. Bring her to my palace. Dressed in her best clothes, Aisha walked with Hassan to the palace. Hassan was terrified, but Aisha was not in the least bit scared. She smiled at the Sultan and laughed when he growled at her. The Sultan was enchanted by the pretty, clever girl and decided to marry her. Over the years, he changed from being a cruel, bad-tempered man into the kindest sultan his people had ever had. That is the end of the story. Okay? What have you learned from the story? That's a question I'll leave you to think about. And if you've learned anything really interesting, please leave a comment under this video and I'm going to reply back, okay? Thank you very much for listening to this story and have a beautiful, beautiful night. Bye!